makes it one of the great rivers in the world. It's 4 times the size of the Rhine River in Europe, 5 times the size of the Nile River in Egypt, but it's only 1/10 the size of the mother of all rivers in the world, the Amazon in South America. As we swing around the end of Point Frederick, if you look to the left, you'll see the main RMC building in the background there with a clock on it, with the Canadian flag waving on top. And just as we pass the end of RMC Point Frederick, if you look to your left, you'll see coming into view a white inflatable dome that covers the college cadet soccer fields. But in front of that dome, there's a little bay opening up to our left, and that's called Navy Bay. And it's called Navy Bay because during the War of 1812, that was the harbor and a major British Royal Navy dockyard, right where RMC stands now. And during the war, they produced a large number of very big wooden sailing warships, including the largest sailing warship ever to launch on the Great Lakes, called HMS St. Lawrence. And for you nautical buffs, St. Lawrence was a 112-gun ship of the line, same size and power as famous Admiral Nelson's flagship, the Victory, at the Battle of Trafalgar. She needed a crew of 900 men to sail and fight the guns at the same time. And when St. Lawrence was launched in September of 1814, the United States Navy retreated to its home port in Sackett's Harbor across the lake and never came out again during the war. And next to Navy Bay, you'll see a fortress on a hill, and that's called Fort Henry. It was begun during the War of 1812 and not finished until 1848. It's a living museum today, and it's one of Kingston's very most popular tourist attractions. You can walk in and see how the soldiers lived and worked in 1867. They have marching pipe bands, they have precision rifle and field artillery drill teams. And those teams compete with the United States Marine Corps and the U.S. Army Cadets at West Point for bragging rights as the world's best precision Army drill team. And as often as not, Fort Henry Guard win the competition. If you do have the time to come back in July or August, I strongly recommend doing it for the weekend. On weekends in the high summer, they have an event called the Sunset Retreat Ceremony. And you can watch those marching bands and the rifle teams and the artillery teams in action. And it culminates after dark on firing the big guns on the walls. It's quite a spectacular show. I've heard it called world class. And it's well worth returning to Kingston for. The flag flying over Fort Henry, you'll see, is the Union flag of Great Britain. And that's because that's the flag that was flying when Canada became a nation in 1867 over Fort Henry. After that, it was a Canadian fortress. Coming along the water is another one of those Martello-style towers. This one has a name too, it's smaller, but it's called the East Ditch Tower because it guards what's called the East Ditch in Fort Henry. And you can see the square loopholes cut into the stone to allow rifles and muskets to shoot at anybody trying to attack from the water side. If you look up the ditch behind that tower, you'll see how big those walls in Fort Henry really are. And they're sunk into the ground to protect them from artillery fire. They're very, very thick walls built in limestone. As we swing around to head back out into Kingston Harbor, if you look to your left still, you see a little island coming into view, and that's called Whiskey Island because during the 1920s, whiskey and rum smugglers kept their secret stash of kegs of rum and whiskey on the island. In the United States, selling alcohol was illegal for 13 years. A number of Canadian entrepreneurs made a great deal of money smuggling whiskey and rum across the lake from here. We had our own bootlegger named Dollar Bill, who lived up the river from Kingston, and he used to appear to all the Queen's football games on the weekends. I think the students cheered him more than he cheered them, though. There's another of those down gun towers on Cedar Island to your left. The way they work is on top of those round walls, there's a gun platform with big cannons that were on tracks so they could shoot in any direction around the harbor. That one was worked on by our second Prime Minister, Alexander Mackenzie, who was a Mason before he became a politician. And it sits on Cedar Island, which is the first of the 1,000 Islands National Park Islands. They're open to the public free all summer. You can picnic or have a campfires on the islands. If you stay overnight, there is a fee, of course. But the fee is paid on the honor system, and like many places in the world, it seems to still work here. You put your money in an envelope in the lockbox on Cedar Island, and every week or so, the Parks Canada staff come around and empty the box. If you don't pay and you cheat, no one will ever know because there are no CCTV cameras on Cedar Island or any of the other 33